And Mama V is here looking all splendid. Ketsi Wooding.
Yeah.
And this is Ajwa Yeboah.
This is Ajwa Yeboah.
I love
clothing.
it. I love the bead, pearls kind of thing up there.
My little detail right there.
Good detail. Looks beautiful.
Good morning to you.
For a Thursday.
Yeah.
You look marvelous.
Thanks to Wooding for the fabric and Ajwa Yeboah clothing for the design. Ose, my you.
Oh, get out. got to go one over the weekend. I think that takes precedence.
Little did we think. Oh my God, I absolutely didn't.
But I have to say that I watched the match. It was a good match. I watched till the end, and especially the penalty coming after 90 minutes was beautiful as well. Towards the end of 90 minutes was beautiful as well.
It was a very good night.
Yeah.
Listen, if we had lost, we would have totally understood because we didn't have more like our team A.
Yes,
we didn't absolutely have a good team. At least that's what we thought.
But Lukaku was unsung for the evening or for the night. Look, it also shows that sometimes pedigree and history and the spirits of a body or a club is important. Yeah. Just like Chelsea has it.
Away is better than Old Trafford.
Oh.
At least it's been established.
That's a compensation.
And it doesn't matter if it is PSG or Real Madrid or whatever.
That is a compensation statement.
Oh, it's a beautiful morning. United forever. Okay, all right. If you missed the AM news, don't worry. We've got the newspapers. We will let you catch up with what you've missed in terms of the news. So thank you for joining us, and
definitely
this is the AM show.
All right, so we have to bring you what's on the front pages. And yesterday, the Independence Anniversary celebration was on point. It took longer usually than it would if it was convened in Accra. Yeah. But the interesting highlight was that apparently some few of our compatriots or Ghanaians decided to throng the Independence Square in Accra, thinking there would be an event. I don't know whether they never listened to the news or didn't monitor. It's quite baffling.
I sat in a cab yesterday, and the driver said, this year Independence Day in India. So I thought he was going to say, oh, it didn't bring markets. And then he said, oh, it's a good thing that it's being held in Tamale.
I thought so too.
Because, Accra is not... Everything shouldn't be in Accra.
I agree.
Everything shouldn't be in Accra.
I agree. And I hope that those in Tamale enjoyed it to the max because it was massive.
And I think for our security agencies as well, like those who took part in the parade, also go in there. All the other people go into Tamale. Because we're talking about Independence Day being held in Tamale, but it brings a lot of things. It brings a lot of attention. People would have made money from sales yesterday. Then that's what we want.
It boosts the local economy.
Exactly. So, we hope the people in Tamale took total advantage of
the event.
Exactly.
Yeah, we hope so too.
62nd Independence Anniversary. But the president also talking about a number of things. Let's just dig in. Daily Graphic newspaper front page remains steadfast. President charges Ghanaians. So President Akufo-Addo inspecting the parade in Tamale yesterday, flanked by Lieutenant General Obed Aqua, and who's the CDS, and the IGP David Asante Apiutus. Picture by Samuel Tay Adano is on the front page of the Daily Graphic newspaper. Okankwe North cancels independence celebration after clashes. We know at least one person died. The Member of Parliament for the area, fortunately for us this morning, is on our show. So we'll get some update on this. Thousands attend 62nd Independence Anniversary in Tamale. Details of that story, page 16 in the paper. Back page 8 projects in Nkwanta North yet to be inaugurated 1 year after completion. It's either we beg them to finish it or when it's done, because they want a particular person to open it, it remains shut until we beg them to do it. Okay, so really, basically, that's it for the front and back page, Daily Graphic newspaper.
Okay, let's do the Daily Guide newspaper. This is how it looks like. This is the front page. And straight away, it says, don't toy with us. And President Akufo-Addo, in that speech, and he spoke on a number of things, including, let me just tell you some of the main subjects. Political violence, he touched on it. He also touched on the state of Ghana and the citizens' obligation, all of us, and how government is also focused on ensuring that we have a modern police force, and why Tamale was chosen, and we're told that it's because the whole reconciliation process in the Dagbon Kingdom that led to the installation of the Yana also created the impetus for the choosing of Tamale.
And I think the theme as well, it's all, also on peace and unity.
Yes. So it was just on point or poignant
I think
in that time.
Good choice.
Good choice. And
absolutely.
we have to say that this was gotten right. Other stories on the front page of the Daily Guide newspaper. NDC MP spies on president. We have one killed in clash at Fadama. It's also here pictures of Tahiru losing life. There's also one Yakubu who is said to be a suspect, all on the front page of the Daily Guide newspaper. And then we also have Baumia calls on Yana. And you have an attached picture of the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Baumia, with the Yana Abukari Muhammad II. Ivor Green Street initiates strategic conversations. That story is on page 14 of the Daily Guide newspaper. Fake BNI officer nabbed. But let's go to the center spread. We have some interesting stories that will catch your attention this morning. This is how it looks like. The center spread, the news one pull out of the Daily Guide. It says Nanama McBrown gives birth in Canada. That was a good one there. I read that. So first child, I believe it was a boy.
I think the best actress in Ghana.
Yes. Yeah. She's so versatile.
She's my pick. She's the best.
I like her. She's open. She's nice when you get to meet her. And look, she's just down to earth. Congratulations to you, Nanama McBrown, and your husband. Tyler Perry, though, is explaining why he is retiring the Madea character we've all come to love since the late 90s, I believe. And since the early 2000s, we've experienced great movies with Madea as a main character in them. Very vociferous, festrous woman. Yvonne Jagade parts ways with husband. Procurement minister warns practitioners, and we have other stories also on the center spread.
Let's do the Ghanaian Times newspaper, and it's interesting. The only difference in terms of the headline is less. That's what differentiates the banner headline in the graphic and the Times. Let's remain steadfast, and I guess there's an addition to the Times, which is united, because the graphic has remained steadfast. President charges Ghanaians, and then Times says, let's remain steadfast, united. President
I would say this lends credence to the fact that the theme was just on point, peace and unity. There seemed to have been some peace and unity in the choosing of the headlines. I don't know whether they all went to conference together, but that's what we have.
All right, pop pageantry as Tamale hosts historic 62nd independence anniversary. Details of that. Also, interesting is that details of the independence story is in page 16 in graphic, and also in the Times.
On page
in 16. A lot of doubles this morning. Back page of the Ghanaian Times. Hearts Oldies beats Kotoko to win Independence Cup. Savannah Agric Institute develops mobile app to improve farming. The two key stories on the back page of the paper. Center spread in pictures. What happened in Tamale yesterday by way of the 62nd celebration of our independence.
Okay, let's go to the front page of the Daily Dispatch newspaper. This is how it looks like. On point. So it reads, Akufo-Addo appeals to MPP and NDC, spares the evils of vigilantism. We have cylinder recirculation model not abandoned. The MPA is Hassan Tampoli, and Mr. Hassan Tampoli is the CEO for the MPA. The Nkrumah years in Ghana's politics, and those are the stories we have. Interesting stories in there. In other news, though, R. Kelly had been crying and wailing in an interview. In an interview with CBS yesterday morning. Yeah, so quite interesting. Fortunately, we can't show that to you, but we also have. Let me do this before we go on to the find up. The Custodian has this on the front page, and it says Akufo-Addo to halt political Thagri. NDC threatens MPP over holidays. Government honors Dagmong as MPP plans to win 2020 polls. Pictures of the General Secretary of the MPP, John Buedo, on the front page. And then we have Samye Uku, who is the MPP national organizer, also having his picture placed alongside John Buedo on the front page of the Custodian newspaper. Up there we have Ibrahim Ahmed, and Mr. Ahmed is the first deputy minority whip in Parliament, and he has his picture on the caption, NDC threatens MPP over new holidays, avoid vigilantism, Sheikh Suleiman to Muslim youth, and your conditions on party militarism, shocking Akufo-Addo to NDC. Those are the stories we have. And we're told that on the back page, that's a story. It says, Kotoko Chief assures and happy CK Akono of massive support. And this follows a media report that said that apparently the coach of Kumasi Asante Kotoko, prior to that match versus FC Nkana, nearly resigned or got annoyed with the management of Kumasi Asante Kotoko just because of the reaction to the loss earlier of 3-1 when they visited their opponents in Zambia.
Let's do the business finder. Front page, it says banks make huge profits in recapitalization year. Also, GMPC supports needy orthopedic patients. That was in our news. Don't repatriate profits. That's a call by Ahenkura. Details of that in the paper. It's also got a summary of what the market looks like in the Business Finder newspaper.
Yeah, and what the market looks like always has the CD in there. And the CD, Charlie. Yeah.
Are you still speaking for
the Bank of Ghana? Yeah.
Well, are you speaking for the presidency or the Bank of Ghana?
I'm speaking for the Bank of Ghana.
Ah, okay.
And the presidency, if that's okay.
Okay, so you are the new Otabil.
No.
What's his first name again?
Who?
The communications person at the Bank of Ghana.
Is it Bernard Otabil? Yeah.
I thought you were the Eugene Ahin, but no. You went to the Bank of Ghana.
I'm actually the deputy communication director at the office of the communication director of the Bank of Ghana. Seconded. Okay, so we have the daily. The daily statement is our last paper, and we have. I will end this shameful violence and use power to dissuade spares. The first says Akufo-Addo. Easy vows to regain the public's confidence, and we don't need thugs to win in 2020. Akufo-Addo answers NDC, and is that statement that he issued in reaction to the letter that was written to him by the NDC on how they convene that meeting or the dialogue to end party militias as they are in the two parties. And then we also have, unfortunately, Nkrumah Never Dies is an opinion, so you have to read the Ghanaian Time, no, the Daily Statesman. And that'll be it for the newspapers. We have any of the picks?
Well, we've talked about the Independence Day, right? The Commission of Inquiry will continue its work today. Not that I've seen any story in any of the newspapers related to that. But let me do this bank thing. Yeah, don't speak for the Bank of Ghana. Picking this from the Business Finder, and it says majority of the 23 banks that met the Bank of Ghana's recapitalization requirements of 400 million Ghana cedis made huge profits in the last financial year. So on audited results cited by Business Finder suggest that the balance sheets of most of the banks have improved significantly, and they give a breakdown. So for instance, EcoBank's profits up by 34%, the paper says. It continues and gives a further breakdown, but let's fast forward to Stan Charts. A Tier 1 bank, however, saw its profits declining by 25%. It says, on the other hand, Cow Bank, an indigenous bank, saw its profit growing by 12% in 2018. And then GT, Guarantee Trust Bank, made a whopping profit of 150 million Ghana cedis, about 70% growth, they say. And it continues. But you know, the reason I'm interested in this story is that we always see the banks, even before some of them collapsed. When you look at their sheets, Roland Walker, it always looked good. A lot of people didn't expect that they would go down.
Yes,
on
definitely.
paper, they looked very good.
Yeah, they look very good. But
so does this mean anything?
I'm thinking after all the measures and the enforcement of the regulations, as we've seen, resulting in the banks going down under and restructuring or the reform of the sector, they will do what is right by themselves.
But would we see the results show this quickly?
If you look at the projections, especially from what was read in the last budget by the finance minister, the target is to recover in the next 3 years. And so this year is supposed to be, last year was around, there was a deficit around 11. The target for this year is around 8.5, I believe. And then thereafter, around 2022 is going to be 3.5, and then we'll be free thereafter. So we're hoping that we're going to make some good margins for the whole sector after 2022 thereabout, and that's good because we've given ourselves the leeway or the space so that the banks could flourish under good conditions of regulation, but also making sure that the performance indicators within their corporate structure themselves and also with the boards that they have is in line with what the regulations are. The good thing about the reforms, even though not everybody agrees with the way it was communicated, is that it puts us in good stead to be able to measure up to some of the best standards, not only on the continent but across the globe. Because the banking sector or the financial sector of every country is a great indication of how well you could perform. It gives the space for people to have access to great facilities so that they can expand their businesses, etc., while we work on the other fundamental issues that tend to confront an economy like ours as we find in the sub-region. I think this is good. It's good measure, but then we have to measure it along how the performance of the other banks will be vis-a-vis the ones that have been mentioned. Because, I mean, before the reforms, these banks were the ones that were doing well anyway. EcoBank, Standard, Barclays, which now will be ABSA subsequently. And then we had Fidelity, we had also Cowbank. I mean, they were some of the top players within the industry. But the other ones needed to get some supports. And that's where we are currently as far as that is.
Well, okay. Good. Thank you for the details. This is page 18 and 19, two stories of interest for me. One is the fact that Professor Kwame Akon-Nensen, who is Professor of Political Science with the University of Ghana, is asking for or calling for some reforms in Parliament. The other is Samson Ladi Ayenini, writing on the 1992 Constitution, the fact that it needs changes. So this is 18 and 19 in the Daily Graphic newspaper. Let's talk about Professor Nensen for a minute. So he's observed that the role of Parliament in governance had been compromised through the competition for power, adding that most people competed for power purposely to get access to resources of the state for their personal benefits. So he's called on relevant authorities and all stakeholders to, as a matter of urgency, make effort to reform the current nature of the country's parliament. It would serve as a major step in the fight against corruption, he says. And he was speaking in Accra at an event organized under the auspices of the Institute for Democratic Governance, IDEC, and the Political Science Department of the University of Ghana to launch a book, the book titled The Corrupt Elites, Anatomy of Power and Wealth in Ghana, seeks to unearth the root cause of corruption in Ghana through a historical analysis of its trajectory. And the book also seeks to expose the fact that hitherto has been labeled as corrupt practices are only the symptoms of social problems created deliberately or otherwise by successive leaders to serve their interests. And then it draws attention. So this book is really critical. It draws attention to the fact that institutions that have been set up by successive government dating back to the colonial time are specifically structured to condone the acts of corruption.
Yes, and I guess this also dovetails into what the arguments have been about the socio-cultural linkages we have around corruption. Because many of the things that the West would think is wrong with either receiving monies or maybe going through processes to get a service undertaking or a contract, etc., which have been tagged to be corrupt, has a great underpinning within the socio-cultural norms that we tend to have and the way we tend to behave. And so we think that even if you went through the right processes in acquiring a contract or getting a certain service given to you by a public servant or a public official or an appointee or a public agency, it also means that there should be a thank you, which is something that we have on the back of our minds culturally, even at the home.
Yes.
You do something for your son or a relative, and even though you did it out of your own free will, or even based on certain processes or laid down regulations or standards or benchmark you had set, the person will come and thank you.
Yeah.
Even at the church, many of the times we accuse the pastors to be corrupt. But it's not because they are taking church money. They have a gift, so-called, and they may have performed a miracle, but we're so happy, even though the pastor may be seemingly richer than you, we're so happy to give that car or the house because the pastor is said to have performed a miracle on that child who was sick. And so we give that pastor, and he will flaunt it around. And that is also a problem. It's a social-cultural problem.
Exactly. You know, I'm the fact that he's talking about MPs, and I'll talk about the specific reforms that he's calling for, the specific changes. People will go to the MP's house. I mean, there are people who take from the MPs, lots of people, but there are others who go to the minister or the MP or that big person who has more than they do, but when they are visiting from their village, they will bring the goats and the yam and the blah, 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 you know. So I agree with you. It's a social-cultural, you know, people just feel that traditionally or culturally they are supposed to be thanking you. You know, even when what you have done is what you're supposed to be doing.
Exactly. Yeah. I feel that in the broader context of the conversations around corruption or anti-graft, we have not been able to broaden it to include some of these specifications of these spaces. And I know that people will have some difficulty with it. And so even though somebody is appointed into public office, it's supposed to be stern in implementing benchmarks or procedures that have been laid down in ensuring something is done. We tend to bend the rules when it comes to family or maybe some external people or variables like somebody who is very good in the society, who may be performing philanthropic activities, or even the chief or the pastor or that person who is a classmate maybe at Infantipim or Anglogan or Zion College or somewhere, you know. So at the end of the day, it speaks volumes about how perhaps we can blend tradition with some of the good things, but also making sure using the same values in tradition to stem, to nip corruption in the bud. Can we do it? How do we do it? Is a great question. I feel I'm not a proponent of just taking everything that the West says is wrong.
Because because see, I'm at least I know of a judge. You know, so sometimes when the person doesn't even know the judge from anywhere, but the fact that his case has gone there and he's succeeded, like we say, he's won the case, he feels he wants to thank the judge. I mean, it's not like the judge favored him, it's his ruling favored the person, but they feel like they want to thank the judge. So they take the yams and the things and they go and thank the judge, not because they met the judge before the ruling or before the case, whatever
I'll tell you this, my partner or my wife.
It's just like it's become like our tradition.
My wife told me the story before. She said, well, so I asked her, within this milieu of this conversation, some time ago, there was, when this, one of the period, is it the judge's expose that announced it? And I asked her, when you are at the ward, do you take monies?
Because your wife works in a health...
Yes, in a ward. Yeah. So it's an adult emergency ward, so it's very busy. So I asked her, do you take money from relatives of patients, etc.? And she said she doesn't. But even some of the relatives are so happy about maybe the care you gave and how quick they are their families or the patient they brought to the ward was able to recover so quickly, and how nice you were, that even after the treatment, they force you to take some money. And she claimed that even though she didn't. But at the end of the day, it's symptomatic of the way socio-culturally our values are, because our values are godliness, friendliness, neighborliness, communal living, etc. So we take that into public office. And you know how
we should have this conversation. You
know how you speak to maybe classmates or friends or even people you don't know at all who have lived outside Ghana, and they tell you that white people or those who grow up in a brochure or someplace, they live in their house, even on the street, they will not talk to you. Once their relative is old, they'll put that person in the old people's home. For the black community or the immigrant, they'll try and bring a family member from Africa to come and care for the old person or the child. You know, that kind of, they don't, they are really about themselves. And they try to make sure that nothing will be an obstruction to how they want to live that way. And we want to, so we take all that into public office. It's a question.
So we need a homegrown policy to tackle corruption.
Yes.
Essentially,
for
that's
example,
what we're saying.
So I guess that then we have to fine-tune those regulations in such a way that if we say maybe do not take a certain gift or what quantum do you take, that will be seen to be a bribe, even though it's enshrined in the law. It has to be influenced by the socio-cultural value. I think so.
Yeah, we'll have a broader conversation.
Because
on
if I'm in office, and Roland Walker is in office, years down the lane, somebody comes and say, "Oh, I'm Mamavi Osuabuaje's brother," or let's say cousin. I say, "Oh yeah, I used to work with her." She said, "I even called her this morning. Okay, what's the problem?" "Oh, you know, I need this." I'm bound, or I may likely, more than, I think 90% of the time, likely to help that person. And if there's a camera that's on me, I'll get caught. And if that is corruption, then I'm corrupt. That is a problem.
We need a broader conversation on this. Absolutely agree with you, because, you know, we've got our own setup. You know,
I think so. I don't know. Not many people agree with that. I've made this argument.
No. I totally agree with you, and it's because we haven't brought in the different aspects. You know, like a grown girl like me, my uncle will still see me and want to give me money. You know, you take your children to see their grandfather. Sometimes the person who is even giving you the money, you have way more than they do, but they insist on you taking it. And it becomes, so we need a conversation on that. Just quickly before we wrap up on this, just want to touch on what Samson is writing in the Daily Graphic, page 18. And he says, for instance, and it's been highlighted in the piece, why empower... So this is not Samson writing, I beg your pardon. This is by Joshua Bediako Kumsin. But, you know, Samson speaks on this issue, and the Shrash boss, Joseph Wattal, also speaks on this issue. So what's been highlighted, for instance, says, why empower the police and other law enforcement agencies to investigate and arrest offenders, only to deny them the power to proceed to make a decision to prosecute those they have arrested or investigated? It comes with a question. So, for instance, Samson says, to further assure the IGP's independence, the police council must not have more than 2 appointees of the president. He said those 2 must not be eligible to chair the council and must be constituted along the lines of the board of the office of the president's prosecutor. This is not rocket science, and we can do this. Kenya is an example worth emulating. Their 2010 constitution provides in Article 245 non-renewable 4-year tenure and functional independence of the IGP. Cabinet can only give direction in the matter of policy, and such direction must be in writing, he stated. Now, if you link this to the IGP's appearance before the Commission of Inquiry looking into the Ayawaso West Wuogon violence, then this is really, really important. I mean, there are some basic things that we can do, and like Samson put it, this is not rocket science. There are some things that we can do by ourselves, and we haven't done it. You have a helpless IGP who is even looking for his own men that he has loaned to national security, just to ask them, you know, I have seen these things in the videos, and I have seen you in the video. tell me about what was happening, he can't simply get his own men to interact with. So we absolutely need changes.
Yeah, we definitely need. The thing is, do we have the commitment? Because, you know, the Constitution already structures the way the appointments are done. So do we have the commitment of the executive? I mean, I won't say political leadership, but the executive.
Well,
I mean, that's
all eyes on the Emil Short Commission, because I think that their recommendations based on the interactions that they've had, and I have not seen anything like this before. You know, all these big people coming before the commission and essentially confirming, because they are people in authority, confirming a lot of the suspicions that we've had. And so all eyes on the commission. The recommendations,
but the precedent is always there.
The recommendations will be critical, and we will be watching closely the president, because
but also the
we
white
are not
paper on the
spectators. We are citizens, so we will be looking close. That's the difference. Now we're citizens. Before we were spectators. So the difference is very clear. People say you're precedents, but now we're citizens, so we see.
Look, the good thing is that the president gave the commitment by setting up the commission. So we're hoping that at least...
They've always set up commissions. I insist that the difference is now we're citizens.
Yeah. Okay. I take that insistence, so we'll move on with it. I think we're done with the wrap-up. I wanted to comment a bit on the subject of...
If Gomez allows you.
The Ghana Union of Traders raising concerns about the import duty, and it's being the highest in the sub-region for them. And also Fitch also saying that tax reforms will be needed to boost revenue growth. And we know that we're trying to improve our budget deficit. So far we've done that since 2017, 2018 we've done that. Next year is a big measuring point for us because it's an election year. I don't see how government cannot spend. Because if you don't spend, it will be a great testament.
IMF is still watching us, Abi.
Well, so we're ending the pact with the IMF, at least what we have, even though we're still...
So, you know, Mr. Setekpe, the former finance minister, was on pulse yesterday. He says we need the IMF now.
Yeah, it's because they provide the breaks for us so that we're in a position to measure whether how we spend is right. And ultimately will portend well in the medium to long term. But
all right.
We're hoping that we can close.
We have to run now. Good morning to our director,
good.
Patrick Gomez. I have no idea what he's saying.
He's saying that we should break for sports.
We should get
and
away.
Benedict is looking well this
Patrick
morning.
says we should take a breather so that they can play back our miracle. No, it's not miraculous. I mean, it was a good performance. What a comeback.
You're so biased.
I will be joining in the sports, which is up next. Whether you like it or yes, sports is coming up. And we will tell you how Manchester United turned a 2-0 defeat at home away. Details coming up.
Shame on you, Mama. Bye. We'll be right back.